We have seen many iconic authority figures break out onto the WWE screen and declare things, from President Jack Tunney to the evil Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff. While there have been many who are excellent in the roles, these 10 instances were times when the authority figure just didn't hit the mark. It's Sportskeeda Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and get in the comments below. Also, give us a subscribe already. You're already watching this much. The anonymous Raw General Manager is the first that comes to mind. The highly dreaded storyline took place over 13 months, and while the premise itself was interesting, with a computer just kind of making an alarm noise and interrupting matches and having Michael Cole read those announcements and decrees, was pretty annoying as it developed. It had an idea that never really came together. Although there were seemingly never plans for an endgame, Hornswoggle was revealed as the anonymous GM behind it all, to an understandably underwhelming reaction. He revealed later that the original plan for him to be like a mob boss style character with a Napoleon complex. Because, yeah, that's kind of obvious. Perhaps that would have been a little bit more interesting, but you're not going to find many people who have positive things to say about the story. I don't think you can find many people that have nice things to say about Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, and his tenure as the boss on screen. It began after CM Punk's famous pipe bomb promo back in 2011, where he described the head of talent relations, a backstage real-life role that John Laurinaitis had, as a, quote, glad-handed, nonsensical D-bag yes-man. It began a year-long storyline where Laurinaitis tried to take charge and played the role of a heel authority figure who gave the fans people power, but really just talked down to them and was evil. While him getting heat should normally be a good sign, it was not the same type of heat that Eazy-E Eric Bischoff had during his incredible, well-received tenure as the Raw GM. Fans couldn't stand Laurinaitis, who clearly wasn't cut out for this type of role. He even headlined a pay-per-view over CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan. What is going on here? You can only imagine the relief that was felt when Vince McMahon fired him from his role a year later in June 2012. One superstar name who wasn't at fault for their forgettable tenure as an authority figure is Brad Maddox. Well, Vicky Guerrero first recruited him as her assistant Raw managing supervisor. He was promoted to Raw GM after her firing in 2013. The only issue is that it happened right before Triple H turned heel and formed the authority figure, becoming the top figure alongside Stephanie McMahon. That rendered Maddox kind of useless, with him hardly even getting booked on shows. Somehow he remained in that role until May of 2014, but you may have forgotten about that. He was simply given the role that just didn't suit him. The role of general manager didn't suit WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart either, as he had a fairly forgettable run with the role in 2010. Nearly 2 months after his match against Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 26, Hart was named the GM of Raw, and he lasted in that spot a whopping 28 days. The chaos that the Nexus caused resulted in him getting canned, which essentially summed up WWE's short-term booking and lack of plans around the time, in the eyes of some fans at least. Unfortunately for the Hitman, his run in the GM spot gets understandably forgotten because of how bad and really how short-lived it was. Some truly forgettable brand synergy came when WWE had their series of special guest managers on Raw. Oh yeah, that was a fun time. Between June 2009 and May 2010, a string of special guest celebrities appeared on the show, basically as guest hosts, a visitor with the same powers as a GM. And some of the more notable names included Jerry Springer, William Shatner, Shaquille O'Neal, Mike Tyson, David Hasselhoff, among others. While it was a move to get WWE mainstream attention they once enjoyed, the idea was only good on paper and just wasn't consistent. Some of them were fine, other ones were just... What is going on here? Are they just advertising something? Celebrities appearing on WWE television still have a positive impact overall, to some extent. The same cannot be said for former NFL great and American Gladiators host Mike Adamle. In 2008, he was hired as an interviewer for WWE and famously called Jeff Hardy Jeff Harvey in his first official appearance on TV. This would be the first of many mistakes, and he was moved over to commentary on ECW. He only continued to make mistakes, which is why WWE somehow felt it was a good idea to make him the GM of Raw. The tenure lasted for 3 painful months before he resigned. It's worth noting that it was not known at the time that Adamle was dealing with CTE, a neurodegenerative disease believed to have been caused by his years in pro football. This would clearly affect his ability to perform in the role. Another unfortunate person in the authority figure position was Tiffany. She debuted on the main roster in 2008 in ECW as the assistant GM of Teddy Long. It was clear right away that she was just not a right fit. As an authority figure, it requires a certain amount of proficiency on the mic, charisma to take over an arena. At 23 years old, she was also far too inexperienced to thrive in the position. To add to it, she made a bizarre decision to trade 7 ECW stars for 3 SmackDown mid-card stars, which was a bad look. It's not a good trade. Thankfully, she found more success in Impact Wrestling years later. Hall of Famer Kurt Angle may have had a successful run as the Raw boss between 2017 and 2019, but he also had a very odd run as the SmackDown GM in 2004. After losing the WWE Championship to Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania 20, Kurt Angle found himself injured yet again. This time, WWE decided to utilize him in an on-screen role and make him the boss from March until July, keeping him on the show and keeping him a heated villainous figure. While Angle was always a great talker, he was an even better worker in the ring, and his character just didn't fit all the way in the initial GM role on SmackDown. Everybody was relieved once he made his official return back to the ring. Many don't remember that Debra was an authority figure between 2000 and early 2001. She was the assistant commissioner to Mick Foley, known as the lieutenant commissioner. Mick Foley was very over with crowds at this time and having a very great time in the role, while Debra was never really fitting in to begin with and looked sort of out of place. It's probably no surprise that many have forgotten this stint that lasted for a few months. Many wondered why she was even positioned in that role in the first place. Stone Cold Steve Austin was turned into an authority figure after he was forced to retire from active in-ring competition at WrestleMania 19. Stone Cold became the sheriff of Monday Night Raw, handling things alongside Eric Bischoff and having plenty of backstage comedy segments with him. Stone Cold had a lot of fun on camera, and so did the fans. There was only one problem. Stone Cold's character was anti-authority by default. It didn't translate well, and he was the one dictating the rules. To add to it, Eric Bischoff was far more suitable in the role, which, yeah, I can agree with that. Which is perhaps why it was best when Stone Cold was written off after Survivor Series 2003 in a banger 5-on-5 elimination match with his team not coming out with the W.